Hey everyone, I want to share about a mental health coping mechanism that has helped me deal with stressors of life, chronic illness, the world, and grad school, the never-ending homework. So these are three fun fictional books. I'm excited to share these. The first is Vanessa Yu's Magical Paris Tea Shop. The second is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. And third and finally, The Midnight Library. So all of these books are very different from each other, but what they had in common is that they were fun, they were a great form of escapism. I wouldn't have survived these past few months without books. So Vanessa Yu's Magical Paris Tea Shop. This is a main character. Vanessa is 27 years old. She lives in Palo Alto. Her professional life is in order. She comes from a close-knit Chinese family, and her aunties want her to be married. But there's a problem. Vanessa has this gift or a curse depending on how you look at it. So she, as the book says, Vanessa Yu never wanted to see people's fortunes or misfortunes in tea leaves. Ever since she can remember, Vanessa has been able to see people's fortunes at the bottoms of their teacups. To avoid blurting out fortunes, she converts to coffee. But somehow the fortunes escape and find a way to complicate her life and those around her. To add to her plight, her romantic life is so non existent that her relatives enlist the services of a matchmaking expert from Shanghai. After the matchmaking appointment, Vanessa sees death for the first time. She decides that she can't truly live until she finds a way to control her uncanny abilities. So Vanessa goes with her fashionable and eccentric Aunt Evelyn to Paris, and there we learn a lot about Evelyn's life. We are also exposed to a lot of mouth-watering descriptions of food, the way Roselle Lim makes food and art come alive. I've never read anything like this. This book had a fresh take for me. I've never read any Roselle Lim book, and I'm going to read more. I'm going to share a few brief passages that are not game changers in the book. They're not spoilers, but I want you to get a flavor. Oh, that's a pun. A flavor of what I'm saying about the writing. So the first one is this. The brunette struggled with the cap. I didn't need my aunt's clairvoyance to know this was not going to end well. She handed the bottle back to her partner, who strained to open it. The lid popped off, hitting Mark in the shoulder. The thermos gaped open for me to see the dark liquid inside. My stomach clenched. A prophecy formed like a gumball in my mouth. Please, not now. The taste of chewy caramels flooded my mouth, sweet and sticky. The pressure built against my teeth until the only way to relieve them was to allow the prediction to escape. He will propose with his grandmother's ring, the one you have coveted since last year's meeting. A second description of food. So it said, a long, thin golden cookie sparkled with its generous dusting of fine sugar. The grainy texture crumbled into a pile of buttery richness on my tongue. The citrus zest of lemon added a bite to the creaminess of the vanilla, balancing out the sweetness. Vanessa Yu's Magical Paris Tea Shop. In one word, this book is yummy. And I'm going to include links in the description box to all three of these books. The second book, in one word, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, is intriguing. This was just a fun page turner, nothing heavy here. There are two main characters, Monique Grant. She is a young writer who is obscure, and she's dissatisfied at work. I think a lot of us can relate to this. Her bosses at work aren't giving her any big opportunities writing-wise, the magazine she writes for. And then all of a sudden, this reclusive Hollywood icon, a retired star and legendary beauty, Evelyn Hugo, contacts Monique. She says, hey, I want to share the story of my life. She's in her advanced years. She said, this is the time. I want to share the story of my life, and I want you to write it. I only want you to write it. I want you to write my memoir. But hey, there's one catch. At the end of this, when I tell you the story of my life, you're going to hate me. I'm not going to tell you why, but you're going to hate me. Take it or leave it. Do you want this opportunity? And Monique says yes. So what happens over the course of the book is you hear all these fascinating stories from that era of old Hollywood, how Evelyn Hugo made it from nothing to Los Angeles in Hollywood, how she preserved her career until the 1980s. Evelyn unspools a tale of ruthless ambition, unexpected friendship, and great forbidden love. And As the book jacket says, but as Evelyn's story nears its conclusion, it becomes clear that her life intersects with Monique's own in tragic and irreversible ways. Now, I've never read a Taylor Jenkins Reid book before. What I loved about this was even though we knew there was a twist coming, you didn't know what it was. You couldn't predict it. You couldn't possibly predict it. And it was just a fun read, nothing heavy, which is what I needed. And if you love reading about old Hollywood stars, you will enjoy this book. I should give a brief content warning. There are scenes of sexual harassment and domestic violence. They are very brief. They're a small portion of the book, but if you don't want to read about that, I understand. For me, the author was never graphic, and I've read books that have gotten graphic. There was never graphic scenes, so I wouldn't have found it fun if the book was graphic. So this book is intriguing. I'm curious to read more of Taylor Jenkins Reid in the future. And here is the third and final book, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. This is a great contemporary sci-fi read. If I could describe it in only one word, that would be uplifting. I understand now why Matt Haig is a best-selling author. This book, if you like time travel, TV shows and movies, you will love this, and I do. Someone said it's like being Erica, where the main character is a female who goes back and forth in her life and experiments what could have been. If you like Quantum Leap, Doctor Who, Back to the Future, I think you'll love this, but still, it is a fresh take on time travel. The main character is Nora Seed. She lives in the UK. She's unsatisfied with the paths her life have taken. And I'll read from the book jacket because I wouldn't do it justice. So it says, between life and death, there is a library. Up until now, Nora Seed's life has been full of misery and regret. She feels she has let everyone down, including herself. But things are about to change. When she finds herself in the Midnight Library, she has a chance to make things right. The books in the Midnight Library enable Nora to live as if she had done things differently. Each one contains a different life. A possible world in which she made different choices, affecting everyone she knew, as well as many people she never met. With the help of an old friend, she can now undo every decision she regrets as she tries to work out her perfect life. But things aren't always what they imagined they'd be. And soon her choices place the library and herself in extreme danger. Before time runs out, she must answer the ultimate question: what is the best way to live? I love this book. As I said, I found it uplifting, and I should just give a brief warning. The main character, Nora, she does struggle with suicidal thoughts. However, I didn't, as I've talked about before, I've lost multiple people to suicide, and I did not find this triggering because Matt Haig was never graphic, and I wouldn't call the book uplifting if it was depressing for me. I'm somebody who attends loss loving outreach to survivors of suicide because of those losses, and even I didn't find anything in here triggering, but I just want to say that, give people a heads up if that's a topic you avoid. So that's it. The 3 books: Vanessa Yu's Magical Paris Tea Shop by Roselle Lim, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. So also want to say, if you didn't know this, I have a blog called Fashionably Ill where I've written a lot about mental health and chronic illness issues in greater depth than I did in this video. And we're actually approaching the 10th anniversary of Fashionably Ill. We have new articles up. That's the name of my blog. You can Google it. Also, the URL is just my name, www.jessicajimeno.com, and Jimeno starts with a G. So I'll post a link to my website in the description box, along with links to where you can get all of these 3 books. I just adore them so much, and I don't know what I would do, how I would have survived the state of the world, grad school, a handful of chronic illnesses without some fun fictional escapism. This is just a lot of fun. I hope everyone is feeling safe. How are people doing? Let me know what helps you. Is there a favorite book that I should read? Do you like fiction? What helps you escape stressors? And you can find a lot of videos on this channel, my YouTube channel, Jessica Jimeno, where I talked about mental health. I did one video called What's Your Top 10? And it's just about coping mechanisms. So everyone, I'll see you later. Thanks for listening. Bye.